Hi guys, this is AC Gamer back with a new video on Counter Side. So in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is making a week-to-week PvP tier list for Counter Side. So what I mean by that is because every single week we get a brand new change in our meta because of the bans and ops system that is in Gauntlet. So I decided to make a tier list which goes over which characters I would highly recommended to use this week and which characters you shouldn't use this week. So hopefully you guys actually like this video. Stay tuned for more content on Counter Side. Now this idea did not come from me originally. I went to the Reddit of Counter Side and I saw someone actually make this week-to-week PvP tier list stuff, and I had a few issues with their PvP tier list stuff, but I decided to make my own so that you guys can get my own feel on which characters are going to be very useful in this week's meta. So before I go ahead and show you my tier list, we're going to go over to Gauntlet to refresh our minds or our brains with the characters that are buffed and the characters that are banned in this week. So we'll go over to this week's and bans. We're going to see over here, so there's only 4 characters that are banned and most of them are banned too. And then if we go over to the ban ship, actually ignore that, we're going to go over to the up characters and we have 3 characters that are very useful to use in PvP. So yeah, let's get right into the tier list. Now with this tier list, it is ranging from S, A, B, C and D. So S units are units that I would highly recommend it to use. At least use one of them or more than one of them in your team in this week. And A tier units are also characters you should also use. And then B tier characters are characters who you can use if you do not have any of the other best characters in the S or A tier. The D tier units are units that I wouldn't really recommend you guys to use at this moment because they're either banned or generally not useful, but I believe most of the banned units will be under the D tier list. But yeah, let's get right into it. So in S rank, we got our favorite character, our favorite awakened character, Awakened Hildy. I don't think I need to talk too much about her. If you go against the level 110 Awakened Hildy, it's going to be very tanky. If you have your own Awakened Hildy, you should definitely go ahead and use her in PvP. She is a high energy cost unit, so you definitely want to have a unit that can increase your deployment cost in the match, or recover your deployment and resources. Now the next character in S is going to be Rosaria, the Queen of the Skies right now. Now the next awakened character, like the next new awakened character, is going to be another like airborne character, and he's going to take the spot as the Queen of the Air in PvP. However, for right now, Rosaria is definitely one of the best characters that are air-based. And the next character in the S tier, we have Yumina. Now, I think a lot of people might decide to run 2 awakened characters in this week meta. It's going to be very toxic, especially because Awakened Hildy, best tank, and then Yumina, very huge burst damage dealer. So it's going to be very annoying to go against them. Then the next character in S tier, we have Titan. If you want to run a mech team in this week, because there is a up character that you can go ahead and use, we will help your mech team in this week. So if you're going to use a mech team, Titan will definitely be a must-have. So using the ship Abraham as well will be good. Next up in the S tier, we have Juso Young, obviously a character that you can use in your counter team as well as your soldier team. She does extra damage to counter units and she's pretty much very toxic in PvP. Now the next character, we see Elizabeth. Now I actually think Juso Young is kind of like a better Elizabeth. When we use Elizabeth to like quickly spawn in her so that she does a special, and a special deals a ton of damage, and with that special we're able to kill back units, so snipers or units that are not very tanky. So I actually use my Elizabeth to counter the awakened Yumina. However, Juso Young could be actually better because she is a low energy cost. She only has 2 deployment costs needed for her, whereas Elizabeth has 4. I mean, Elizabeth is probably more versatile and easier to use because she does a ton of damage, but Juso Young can be 10 times more irritating. So that's why I feel like Juso Young, you can use her instead of the Elizabeth, and that will actually reduce your energy cost of your overall team, which is going to be very good. Now the next character in S tier, we have one of my favorite healers in the game, Claudia Nelson. I actually slept on Claudia Nelson. I did not know she was going to be that good. I did see a lot of people using her PvP, but last week when I started doing PvP properly, Claudia Nelson was amazing. She definitely is a character because Evelyn right now is at band 1. You don't want to use her. I mean, you can use her because it's only band 1, so the energy deployment, so the deployment cost for her is a little bit higher than usual. However, you can still use her, but now Claudia Nelson is going to be a great substitute. She is going to carry on remaining as one of the best support characters to use in PvP. Next up, we have the twin Zayn and Zwain. There's nothing much I can say about them. They have low deployment cost, one of the best strikers to use in the game. Now, as a striker character, you want to use her, and as well as the Yumina for burst damage, and you want to make sure that you have a low deployment cost. Having Zayn and Zwain as well as Ji So Young in the same team is going to be very, very good. Next up in S tier, we have our favorite tank, Lee Yumi. Now, a lot of people who don't have Awaken Hildy, I would definitely recommend you guys to use Lee Yumi in this week. She is out of ban, so she's going to be very, very amazing. Lee Yumi is one of those best tank unit. In my opinion, it will be better than Awaken Hildy in the future, but because there's not that many units that can counter Awaken Hildy at the moment, Awaken Hildy is much more better to use than her. However, if you want to use them both in the same team, it's going to be better as well. Next up, we have the up unit for this week, which is Revret. Now, Revret overall does extra damage to counter units, which is also a great thing to have this week, because I believe a lot of units that people are going to run are going to be counters. Revret, because she is an up unit, only needs 1 deployment cost, which is amazing. You can quickly spam her in the matches, and I believe she will be like meta in this week, so go ahead, work on her. Next up in the S tier, we have Nanohara Shifuyu. Now, if you guys are going against a lot of Awakened Hildy, I believe Nanohara Shifuyu is going to be a great counter to her. Do you like defense decrease, if I am not wrong, which is going to be amazing to go against Awakened Hildy. So if you don't have Zayn Zwain, because she was like a character you can only get from paying, buying the battle pass, then you definitely want to go ahead and use Nanohara Shifuyu. So that concludes the S tier characters, the characters that I would definitely recommend you guys to use. Now, the A tier characters are also characters you can go ahead and use. First of all, we have Kao Wong 6-star. I've actually forgotten the name. Now, because Kao Wong is banned this week, you can go ahead and substitute the role that you would usually use with Kao Wong with this character. I've actually forgotten the name. I don't use her, and I actually don't have her, but yeah, she is a great substitute for Kao Wong. Next one, we got Evelyn. Even though she's at band 1, you can still go ahead and use her. However, at 4 energy cost, it will be better to use other healers in my opinion. Next up, we got Hasane. Hasane, in my opinion, is probably going to be more useful than using Xiaolin. At the start of the game, a lot of people were using Xiaolin in PvP, but I just realized that Hasane is just amazing with her special. Her special makes her very, very versatile because she's able to hit multiple units, and it's going to be very, very good. Now, the next character on the list, we have Regina. The reason why she's up there is because she is a huge counter to the mech team, and I feel like the mech team is going to be useful in this week meta as well, with Titan as well as one of the up units being a mech unit. So if anyone is using a mech team, she is going to be a great counter to that. Next up, we got Xiaolin. She is kind of high in terms of energy cost, but I still think she is a great sniper character to use. I think I actually skipped over a character, which is the brand new Ideal. Also, if a lot of people are using soldier characters this week, because I do feel you can, especially with Revret. Revret is a soldier character, so she's going to be great in a soldier team, as well as running Ji So Young in that team as well is going to be very, very great. So running Ideal will also deal extra damage to her, which is going to be nice. And then next up, we have the SR Ju. I've actually forgotten his name. I will put up his name up right now. I've forgotten his name. He does silencing, I think, with his ultimate skill, which is going to be great to counter the Awakened Hildy. Next up, we got Ling Sheng. Now, if you guys are someone who has 2 Awakened units, or you are using a high deployment cost team, then Ling Sheng is going to be very, very useful. I actually started using her in PvP, and I've not lost a match so far. I did about 6 matches, and I haven't lost a single one. And Ling Sheng was always going to be my captain, so I can deploy her first and then regain 2 deployment costs. She is going to be very, very good, especially if you're running 2 Awakened units, because obviously Awakened Hildy 6 energy cost, quite high. We go over to the Yumina, 5 or 6 energy cost, sorry. that is quite high as well. So yeah, great units to have. I think a lot of people are sleeping on her. I haven't seen a lot of people using her in PvP, but yeah, she's great. Next up, if you guys are planning to run a soldier team, then you can go ahead and use John Mason, I believe is his name. He's going to be great for the soldier team. If you guys are building a soldier team, you can go ahead and use him. Next up in A tier, we have the up character. We have the mech unit, which is basically the helicopter. You can go ahead and use that because it's an up unit, so it has a deployment cost of like 2, which isn't high. Especially if you're running a mech team, this is going to be very, very great. If we go over to the next A unit, we have Jane Doe. Sorry, I think I butchered her name as well, but Jane Doe, I have actually slept on this character. I did not realize how broken she could be if you manage to keep her alive. If you do manage to keep her alive, the amount of damage she deals is going to be amazing, especially with the soldier team that people are going to try and run in this week. You can go ahead and use that. Now, although I'm talking about soldier team or mech team, I think the safer team to run this week will probably be the counter team and running with Vets inside it as well. That would be probably the best one. The next unit in the A tier, we have Roy Bennett. Now, Roy Bennett is also an op character this week, so his deployment cost is only going to be 2. And if I'm not wrong about his skills, he does extra damage to counter units, which is going to be amazing to have, especially because a lot of people are going to be running the counter team this week. Now, next up, we have Gae-Yoon. Now, this is going to be like a huge controversy because she is at band 2 this week. So, a lot of people might not want to use her, which is understandable. I believe Gae-Yoon is one of the most broken counter units in the game at this moment. She is as annoying as Awakened character if you guys are going against her. So, even with band 2, so her energy cost will be at 5. You can technically use her because if you put her as your leader or you use it Ling Sheng to regain more deployment resources, I still think you can definitely go ahead and use Gae-Yoon. However, I would definitely not recommend this. As you rank up in PvP, I would definitely tell you to drop Gae-Yoon. She is amazing. She stun lock multiple characters. She's amazing for stunning. However, you're going to go against teams that are using lower deployment cost or like tanks or huge burst damage dealer. And the moment your Gae-Yoon is dead, you're pretty much going to be at loss. So if you're not able to keep your Gae-Yoon safe, I don't really recommend you using her. Even though I put her at A tier, to be honest, she definitely should be at C or D, but because of how great she is, I still feel like she is at A tier for PvP this week. Definitely would not recommend it because the next character up in A tier, we have Sylvia. Now, Sylvia is kind of similar to Gae-Yoon in terms of being able to stun. However, a stun is not going to be as frequent as Gae-Yoon, and the amount of damage she deals is not going to be as much as Gae-Yoon in my opinion. But however, Sylvia is a very, very good character. You can run her in the mech team this week. She isn't banned, so you can go ahead and run her in the mech team. I think the mech team is also going to be a viable team to run this week. Next up in A tier, we have Shinjia. Why is Shinjia here? I think Shinjia is always that unit that you can put in your team if you do not have any other units to put in your team. She is a buffer character. She also summons clones of a character, so which technically increases her tankiness. You can go ahead and put her just as a substitute. I wouldn't say it's a must-have. She's that character that you can definitely like swap out in your team. Next up in A tier, we got Nanohara Shinatsu. Now, because Evelyn is banned this week, I would definitely recommend you guys to use Nanohara and Shinatsu instead of Evelyn. She is like a sub healer. She doesn't heal as much as the other healers in the game. However, just having a little bit of healing with her will be great to have. Next up, we got the B tier. The B tier is characters that I would definitely not recommend you to use. However, if you're lacking some striker characters in the S or A tier, definitely go ahead and use Ji So-young. If you're lacking any tanks in the game, go ahead and use Dominic Original. If you're lacking any good striker characters, then I guess you can use Estarossa. I would definitely not recommend it. If you're lacking any other tanks, you can go ahead and use Ryan. Next up in B tier, we have the other awakened character. I've actually forgotten her name as well. Jisoo. Yeah, her name is Jisoo, Lee Jisoo. Now, she's actually quite tanky for what she does, and she can technically counter awakened Hildy because she is able to remove buffs of her character. So if you manage to place her at the right time, you can go ahead and use her. She is tanky as well, but it's not like a character I say makes your team like 10 times better, but great addition to your team if you're lacking any other units to use. Moving on to the C and D tier. Now, I'm going to exclude the C tier in my talks because typically you don't really need to use them this week. There's a lot of greater units to use, so I'm just going to ignore them totally. But going over to the D tier, the reason why Yangarim and Kao Wong is at D tier is because they are both at ban 2. There's a lot of other substitute that you can use. I did talk about Kao Wong's sister. I think it is her sister. And the younger Reem is amazing. But this week, because of Bantu, I definitely do not recommend using her. So that concludes this tier list for this week. Once again, this is going to be a brand new series that I will start every single week. I'm taking a look at the bands on up and making a new tier list for that week. Hopefully you guys like this video. Stay tuned for more content on Counter Side. Tell me down in the comment section what you think about my tier list. Now, obviously with this tier list, it did not include every single character, but I did make sure to include every single SSR as well as some of the best SR characters. I did exclude the R characters, but I do believe that most of the R characters for the mech team are going to be obviously at A. If you're going to run a mech team, most of them are going to be at A. You can put them there. If you're running a soldier team, most of them are going to be at A. But I didn't want to make this video too long, so I just excluded them. If you guys have any changes that I could make with this tier list, I will gladly listen to your comment. It's been your boy AC Gamer, and I'm out.